We couldn't quite believe it, could we, when we went on air this morning at 9:30?
It was like all yesterday, suddenly that sort of haunted figure of David Cameron walking up Downing Street again. And I mean, you know, we're still in a state of disbelief. What is Sunak thinking? All the people he could give that job to. OK, he wants to get rid of Suella. I disagree with that, but that's fine. I can understand why he sacked her. So maybe he needs someone else to do that job. But Foreign Secretary David Cameron, all the people he could have got to do that job, and yet he brings old dinosaur boy back.
Well, it's about 3 months too early for April Fool's Day and 2 weeks too late for Halloween. I'm not quite sure what this is. Is this some sort of, you know, thing to do with Diwali after Rishi lit his candles outside? I mean, I don't understand what on earth he is thinking. Who is it supposed to please in the party?
Exactly.
Who is it supposed to please in the public? The man's not even elected. So what you've got is basically an unelected Prime Minister. Not that Prime Ministers are directly elected, but the last time people went to the polls, they thought they were getting Boris Johnson, not 3 Prime Ministers later. And now he's appointed someone who isn't even elected. He stood down from his seat, lost the referendum.
And he has to be given a speedy peerage in order to be allowed to serve.
That's a good look, isn't it?
Which in itself sounds a bit corrupt to me, doesn't it?
Oh,
you want a peerage? Oh, we can organise that pretty damn quick. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. That's corruption in action, folks. But extraordinary. Extraordinary.
And without sounding sort of Me Too movement, woke and social justice warrior, yet again we've got a situation where the top jobs in Parliament are all public school educated men.
All public school educated Remainers, remember that.
Much,
this is a betrayal of the Brexit voting public. That's the majority of people in this country. You now have a cabinet full of Rishi's Remainer public school mates, and it stinks, to be honest with you. And today we are asking, has Rishi Sunak made the right decision, sacking Suella Braverman and bringing David Cameron back into government? And we'd love to hear from you, what you think. Text us on 87222 or tweet us on X at TalkTV. Straight to our top story now, and an unprecedented day, as you've been saying, Alex, in Downing Street. The former Prime Minister David Cameron has made a sensational cabinet comeback, taking up the role as Foreign Secretary, as Rishi Sunak shapes up his top team.
Yeah, all of that's still underway, but the Prime Minister has so far also fired his Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, after days of speculation about her future. She's being accused of fueling the violent Armistice Day clashes over the weekend because of her scathing attack on the Met Police in an article which was unauthorised by her bosses at Number 10. Well, let's go live now to Downing Street and talk to TalkTV correspondent Oliver Whitfield-Miocic. Oliver, I mean, there's more people coming in and out of that front door, aren't there? What's the latest?
So the latest that we've heard, of course, is that Therese Coffey, the Environment Secretary, has stood down. That was, you know, she arrived at 10 o'clock this morning, and we'd all been watching that door, waiting to see when she was going to leave. I was even speaking to her driver, and he said, how long does it take to sack somebody? Well, that news coming in the last 15 minutes that Therese Coffey has now stood down. It brings a total number of junior ministers and secretaries of state to 7 who have left. The only 2 that we've had confirmed so far is that James Cleverly is moving over to the Home Office. Now, of course, the former Prime Minister, David Cameron, who's now going to be called Lord Cameron because he's not elected as an MP, so he'll have to be ennobled and go through the unelected route through the House of Lords. He will take over the Foreign Office. In terms of the latest arrivals and departures, Steve Barclay, the Health Secretary, was seen walking in around 20 minutes ago. Victoria Atkin, who is one of the chief advisors to the Treasury, was seen going in. And Richard Holden, a junior transport minister, also seen going in to Number 10. So all of the action is happening here. And what a day it has been as the Prime Minister looks to reset via this reshuffle ahead of the planned general election that we're expecting to see next year.
And Ollie, I mean, what's the feeling there? I mean, what on earth is he playing at? In what way does he think all of these changes are going to somehow appeal to the electorate? And I'm specifically talking, well, a number of people, but specifically David Cameron. I just cannot get it through my head what on earth the Prime Minister thinks he's thinking here. In what way is that going to unite the party? Is that going to bring the party behind him? And more to the point, in what way is the electorate going to respond to that? Are they going to go, well, I was going to vote for Labour, but now he's brought back former Remainer Prime Minister David Cameron. Well, that's completely changed my mind. What's he on, Sunak? What's going on here?
To many, this has been seen as a centrist recess, whereas the likes of Suella Braverman will have been more to the right of the Conservative base. David Cameron is bringing back those centrist ideals, potentially, that we'd seen in years gone by. I think the Prime Minister had been deeply, deeply upset at what we had heard from Suella Braverman when she talked about homeless people, saying that that was a lifestyle choice, and then indeed the fact that she went and published that article in the Times newspaper, which wasn't given approval by Number 10, caused a lot of headaches down here in 10 Downing Street. So this looks like it is all in a bid to try and shore up more of a centrist government as we head into election season. But it is a huge change and hugely controversial. There is the Greensill allegations still hanging over the former Prime Minister David Cameron. Then there's the fact that he is unelected. To have made this announcement on any day would have been controversial, but to have made that announcement after he then sacked the Home Secretary Suella Braverman, who, as we say, was on the right of the party, really is setting off fireworks here in Downing Street. And just on a side note about Suella Braverman, some of her allies, it is being whispered, well, not even whispered, it's being said quite loudly now, her allies are going to be meeting in Parliament later on to discuss everything that's happened, because as you can imagine, they are absolutely furious, but also looking at potentially what a Braverman leadership bid would look like. These are potentially dangerous times for the Prime Minister. Remember, when he was in the Chancellor's house in Number 11, he was seen as preparing himself for a leadership bid all the way through COVID, when he started putting his signatures down on the various promotional materials that he did, when he was running the Eat Out to Help Out campaign, something that Rishi Sunak denied at the time. But he will know all too well what it is like having a minister who is planning to take over the top job when they are currently in office. And at the moment, we have another person here entering. Let's see if we can get a quick question. What job are you hoping for? Laura Trott there coming in to 10 Downing Street. No response, but I'm sure we'll find out what job she's got in a few minutes.